Daeho stepped off the transport shuttle and immediately felt wrong. The air was too clean, too perfect. It didn't smell like anything. Back home in Busan, the air always carried something. Salt from the ocean, exhaust from traffic, or food from the street vendors. Here on Vextar, the air felt artificial, like breathing in a sterile hospital room. The Galactic Institutional Academy stretched before him, a massive structure of silver metal and glowing panels. Students of every shape and size moved through the courtyard. Some walked on legs, others floated, and a few slithered across the polished ground. Daeho adjusted his backpack and tried not to stare. A small insectoid creature approached him. It stood about chest height with 4 arms and large, multifaceted eyes that reflected the artificial sunlight. The creature's exoskeleton was a pale green color, and it clicked nervously as it walked. "You are the human?" the creature asked in perfectly translated Galactic Standard. The translation chip in Daeho's ear made it sound like Korean, though he knew the creature was speaking something entirely different. "Yeah, I'm Daeho, from Earth." The creature's antennae twitched. "I am Hyun. I am assigned to show you to your dormitory and classroom." There was a long pause. "Is it true that your planet has acid rain?" Daeho blinked. In some places, yeah. Industrial pollution and stuff. But it's not like everywhere." Hyun's entire body shuddered. "Horrifying," he muttered, then turned and began walking quickly toward the main building. "Please follow me. Try not to touch anything unnecessarily. Some of our equipment is delicate." As they walked through the corridors, other students stopped to stare. Daeho heard whispers in languages his translator struggled to process. He caught words like death world and survival species and dangerous. A few students pressed themselves against the walls as he passed, as if he might suddenly attack them. "Why is everyone acting so weird?" Daeho asked quietly. Hyun's antennae flattened against his head. "You are the first human to attend this academy. Most species have heard stories about Earth. Your planet's reputation is intense." "Intense how?" "You will learn," Hyun said, refusing to elaborate further. The dormitory room was disappointingly safe. Soft walls, rounded corners, temperature controlled to exactly 22 degrees Celsius. The bed felt like sleeping on a cloud, which Daeho immediately knew would give him back problems. There were no windows, just a screen that could display any view he wanted. He cycled through options: peaceful meadows, calm lakes, gentle forests. Nothing felt real. That evening, Daeho attended his first class. The room was arranged in a circular pattern, with students sitting at various heights depending on their physiology. Instructor Velmara stood in the center, a crystalline being that looked like a living diamond, refracting light into rainbow patterns across the walls. "Welcome to Interstellar Diplomacy and Cultural Studies," Velmara said, her voice chiming like glass bells. "This semester we are honored to have our first Terran student. Daeho, would you please introduce yourself?" Daeho stood up, feeling dozens of alien eyes focus on him. "Hey, I'm Daeho. I'm from Earth, specifically Korea. I'm 19 years old, and I'm really excited to be here and learn about all your worlds." A blue, aquatic-looking student raised a webbed hand. "I am Bora. Is it true that Earth's oceans have enormous predators that eat people?" "Oh, you mean sharks?" Daeho said. "Yeah, but shark attacks are super rare. You're more likely to die from a vending machine falling on you than from a shark attack." The entire class went silent. "Your vending machines kill people?" Bora asked slowly. "I mean, not on purpose," Daeho said, realizing he was making things worse. "It's just a statistic. Because people shake them when their snack gets stuck and sometimes they tip over. It's really rare, though." Another student, who looked vaguely reptilian with dark scales and sharp features, spoke up. "I am Minho. I have heard that Earth experiences severe atmospheric storms that destroy entire cities. How do you survive?" "Well, we have warning systems and buildings designed to withstand the storms. During typhoon season, we just stay inside and wait it out. It's not that bad." "Not that bad?" Minho's voice rose. "You have a season for catastrophic storms?" Daeho scratched his head. "I mean, yeah. Monsoon season, typhoon season, tornado season, depending on where you live. We also have earthquake zones, volcanic regions, tsunami risks in coastal areas." "Enough!" Instructor Velmara chimed loudly, her crystalline body flashing bright white. "I think we understand that Earth has diverse environmental challenges. Let us move on to the curriculum," but the damage was done. The other students looked at Daeho like he was a bomb that might explode at any moment. After class, Bora swam over to him in her mobile water tank. The tank hovered on anti-gravity generators, keeping her suspended in liquid. "I did not mean to make you uncomfortable," Bora said, "but your planet sounds terrifying. How do you sleep at night knowing that disasters could strike at any moment?" Deho shrugged. "I guess you just get used to it. It's home, you know. Besides, most days nothing bad happens. You just live your life." Bora's large black eyes blinked slowly behind the transparent walls of her tank. "You are braver than you realize, Deho from Earth. On my world, Kolara, the most dangerous thing we face is the occasional algae bloom that turns the water slightly bitter. I cannot imagine living with such constant threats." "It's really not constant," Deho tried to explain. "Most of the time, everything is fine. You just have to be prepared, that's all." Over the next 2 weeks, Deho tried to adapt to academy life. Everything was too easy, too safe. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, making him feel like he might float away. The temperature never changed. There were no weather patterns, no seasons, no variation. The planet itself was tectonically dead. No earthquakes, no volcanic activity, no shifting continents. It was stable to the point of being boring. He struggled to sleep in the too soft bed in the too quiet room. Back home, he was used to the sounds of the city. Cars honking, people talking, the occasional siren. Here, the silence was oppressive. The food was nutritionally perfect but tasteless. Deho found himself desperately missing his mother's kimchi jjigae, the burn of gochugaru, the tang of fermented vegetables. When he asked if the cafeteria had anything spicy, the food service worker looked horrified. "Spicy? You mean foods that cause pain receptors to activate? Why would anyone eat that voluntarily? Because it tastes good?" Deho offered weakly. The worker backed away slowly, muttering something about death world masochism. Hyun gradually warmed up to him, especially after Deho helped him solve a complex physics problem. They began studying together in the library, though Hyun still flinched whenever Deho moved too quickly or spoke too loudly. Minho remained cold and skeptical, often making pointed comments about primitive species and barbaric survival instincts. But even he seemed grudgingly impressed when Deho effortlessly carried a stack of data, tablets that required 2 Vextarians to lift. "Bone density from high gravity," Deho explained. "And I guess I work out sometimes." "You voluntarily stress your body." "For recreation?" Minho asked in disbelief. "Yeah, it's called exercise. Don't you guys do that?" "Our species maintains optimal health through nutritional balance and rest," Minho said stiffly. "Physical strain is unnecessary and potentially harmful." Deho decided not to mention that he used to run marathons for fun. By the end of the second week, Deho had settled into a routine even if everything still felt alien and uncomfortable. He had friends now, Bora definitely, and Hyun was coming around. Even some of the other students had started approaching him with curious questions about Earth. Then Instructor Velmara made an announcement that changed everything. "Students, I must inform you that next week we will be conducting a mandatory planetary earthquake drill. Please review your emergency protocols and prepare accordingly. This is a serious exercise designed to ensure your safety in the unlikely event of seismic activity. Counseling services will be available for those who feel anxious about the drill." The classroom erupted in nervous chatter. Hyun's exoskeleton immediately began secreting stress pheromones. Bora's water tank started bubbling from her rapid breathing. Deho looked around in confusion. It was just a drill. What was everyone so worried about? The announcement about the earthquake drill had transformed the entire academy. Deho watched in amazement as his classmates descended into what could only be described as controlled panic. Hyun stopped attending morning classes entirely, claiming he needed extra time to prepare his emergency kit. When Deho visited him in his dorm room, he found the insectoid student surrounded by supplies, water purification tablets, emergency rations, a personal shield generator, a medical kit that could treat injuries he couldn't even pronounce, and something that looked like a portable bunker compressed into a small cube. "Hyun, it's just a drill," Deho said, picking up the shield generator. "This seems like a lot." Hyun's antennae trembled. "Just a drill? Just a drill? Deho, do you understand what an earthquake is? The ground itself becomes unstable. The very foundation of reality shifts beneath you. Buildings collapse. Infrastructure fails. It is chaos incarnate. Yeah, but this is a controlled simulation. The academy wouldn't actually put you in danger." "Even simulated earthquakes are dangerous," Hyun insisted, snatching the shield generator back. 3 years ago, during a meteor impact drill, 2 students suffered severe psychological trauma and had to return to their home worlds. One of them still cannot look at the sky without experiencing panic attacks. Daeho sat down on Hyun's bed, which was more like a carefully arranged pile of soft material. Okay, I get that you're scared. But you know earthquakes aren't that uncommon, right? They happen all the time. Hyun's entire body went rigid. All the time? What do you mean all the time? I mean, like, there are thousands of earthquakes every day across the galaxy. Most of them are too small to feel, but yeah, they happen constantly on tectonically active planets. Tectonically active. Hyun repeated slowly. You mean there are planets where the ground is always potentially unstable? Well, yeah, like Earth. Hyun made a sound like air escaping from a tire and sat down heavily.
How are you alive?
How has your entire species not been wiped out? Daeho shrugged. We build our structures to withstand shaking. We have early warning systems. And honestly, most earthquakes aren't that bad. I've been through dozens and I'm fine. Dozens, Hyun whispered. Dozens. Then he got up and added a second personal shield generator to his emergency kit. In the cafeteria, the situation was no better. Students clustered in groups discussing evacuation routes and sharing stress management techniques. The Quillarian students had formed a support circle in their communal tank, holding hands and humming calming frequencies. A group of gaseous beings in containment suits were practicing their emergency dispersion protocols, much to the annoyance of everyone sitting downwind. Bora found Daeho at their usual table. Her tank's water was murky, a sign of agitation in her species. Have you been to the informational sessions? She asked, her voice tight with worry. What informational sessions? The Academy is providing educational seminars about seismic events. They explain what to expect, how to protect yourself, what to do if structures begin to collapse. She pressed her webbed hands against the tank. I have attended 3 already. I still do not feel prepared. Daeho poked at his lunch, which was some kind of nutrition paste molded to look like food. Bora, can I ask you something? Has Vextar ever actually had an earthquake? Not in recorded history, Bora admitted. The planet is tectonically dead. But that is precisely why this drill is so important. If we were to visit a less stable world, we must know how to survive. Right, but the drill itself won't be that intense. They're not going to actually hurt anyone. Bora's large eyes fixed on him. Daeho, does Earth have earthquakes? Here we go again, Daeho thought. Yes. And you have experienced them personally? Yeah, plenty of times. How many times? Daeho thought about it. I don't know, maybe 50, 60. Most of them were small ones you barely notice. A few were big enough that stuff fell off shelves. There was one really big one when I was 10 that cracked our building's foundation, but everyone was okay. The cafeteria had gone quiet again. Daeho looked up to find dozens of students staring at him. Some had stopped eating mid-bite. Others had their mouths hanging open in what he assumed was shock, though it was hard to tell with some of the more alien physiologies. Minho stood up from his table, his scales rippling with agitation. You are lying. You must be lying. No one could survive 60 earthquakes. The statistical probability of death would be... It's really not that dangerous if you know what to do, Daeho interrupted. You get under a desk or a doorframe, wait for the shaking to stop, and then check for damage. It's basically a safety procedure, like a fire drill. A fire drill, Minho repeated flatly. You compare a seismic catastrophe to a fire drill. I mean, yeah. Both are about staying calm and following safety procedures. A crystalline student near the back of the cafeteria shattered her drinking vessel. The sound of breaking glass punctuated the stunned silence. Instructor Velmara appeared in the doorway, her facets glowing with concern. Is everything all right in here? I heard something break. The human has survived 60 earthquakes, someone said. 63, actually, Daeho corrected, trying to be accurate. I forgot about a few small ones. Velmara's glow dimmed. I see. Well, that is certainly... Excuse me. She turned and left the cafeteria, her normally graceful movements stiff and mechanical. After that, Daeho became something of a reluctant celebrity. Students approached him in the hallways asking questions about earthquake survival. Some wanted tips for the upcoming drill. Others seemed to be trying to understand how he was psychologically intact after such trauma. Do you have nightmares? A small, furry student asked him. About earthquakes? No, not really. Do you avoid tall structures? No, I live on the 20th floor back home. Do you keep emergency supplies at all times? I mean, we have a kit somewhere, but I don't carry it around or anything. Each answer seemed to horrify them more. The Academy distributed preparation materials. Deho flipped through his packet, finding it absurdly detailed. There were diagrams showing how to position your body for maximum safety, psychological techniques for managing fear, and a detailed breakdown of what a simulated earthquake would feel like. According to the packet, the drill would simulate a magnitude 3.5 earthquake lasting approximately 2 minutes. Students were encouraged to practice their safety procedures in advance. Counseling sessions were mandatory for anyone showing signs of pre-drill anxiety. Deho looked at the magnitude rating and frowned. A 3.5 was barely noticeable. He'd slept through stronger quakes than that. This whole thing seemed like massive overkill. The night before the drill, Deho couldn't sleep. Not because of anxiety about the earthquake, but because the planet was too quiet, too still. He tossed and turned on the too-soft bed, missing the subtle vibrations of Earth. Cities hummed with constant small movements, traffic, trains, footsteps, machinery. Even the planet itself was never truly still, always shifting in tiny, imperceptible ways. Vextar felt dead by comparison. Nothing moved that wasn't supposed to move. Everything was controlled, regulated, and perfectly stable. It was deeply unsettling. Around 3 a.m. by local time, Deho gave up on sleep and went to the common room. He found Hyun there, surrounded by emergency supplies, practicing diving under a table. Hyun, you need to sleep. I cannot sleep, Hyun said, his voice brittle. Every time I close my eyes, I imagine the ground opening beneath me and swallowing everything I know. That's not really how earthquakes work. How would you know? You are from a death world. Your species has adapted to constant disaster. My people evolved on a stable, peaceful planet. We are not built for this kind of stress. Deho sat down next to him. Look, I get that you're scared, but the drill is just the Academy's way of teaching you what to do in an emergency. It's not actually dangerous. The shaking will be minor and controlled. Just follow the procedures and it'll be over before you know it. Easy for you to say, Hyun muttered. You have survived worse than anything this Academy could simulate. The rest of us are walking into our worst nightmare. Deho wanted to argue, but looking at Hyun's trembling antennae and rigid posture, he realized that his friend was genuinely terrified. To Hyun, this drill was as scary as, well, Deho tried to think of something that scared him. Heights? No, he'd gone skydiving once. Spiders, they were just bugs. Deep water? He had his scuba certification. Maybe that was the problem. Deho had grown up in an environment that required constant adaptation to potential dangers. His nervous system had calibrated itself to Earth's threats, but these students had grown up in safety and stability. The earthquake drill represented something genuinely outside their experience. Tell you what, Deho said. During the drill, stick close to me. I'll show you that it's not that bad. Okay. Hyun's antennae lifted slightly. You would do that? Sure, that's what friends are for, right? For the first time that night, Hyun relaxed a fraction. Thank you, Deho from Earth. You are strange and terrifying, but you are also kind. I'm going to take that as a compliment. As dawn broke over Vextar's artificial landscape, students began gathering for the drill. Deho could feel the tension in the air. This was going to be interesting. The morning of the drill arrived with an atmosphere of impending doom that Deho found both amusing and concerning. Students moved through the academy hallways like they were marching to their execution. Some had clearly not slept. Others wore so much protective gear they could barely move. Deho showed up to class in his normal clothes, a simple t-shirt and comfortable pants. He had tried to sleep the night before, but the too quiet environment kept him awake for hours. His eyes felt heavy and his body craved rest. All he wanted was a decent nap. Hyun arrived 15 minutes early wearing a personal shield generator on his back, a reinforced helmet, and knee pads. He also carried his emergency kit, which had somehow grown larger overnight. Is all that really necessary? Deho asked, stifling a yawn. Better to be overprepared than dead, Hyun said seriously. His antennae were vibrating so fast they were nearly invisible. Bora rolled in next, her water tank cloudy with stress hormones. I have been awake for 32 hours. I cannot stop thinking about what might go wrong. It's a drill, Bora. Literally nothing will go wrong. That's the point of a drill. "You do not understand," she said, her voice trembling. "My people have existed for 10,000 years without experiencing a single seismic event. This drill goes against every instinct I have. It is unnatural. Wrong." More students filed in, each looking more anxious than the last. Minho entered wearing a full-body harness that he claimed would prevent injury from falling debris. Several of the smaller students had positioned themselves near the exits. The gaseous beings had increased the pressure in their containment suits to maximum, making them look like balloons about to pop. Instructor Velmara floated to the center of the room. Her crystalline body was dimmer than usual, and Daiho wondered if she was stressed too. "Students, please take your positions," she said, her voice chiming softly. "The drill will begin in approximately 10 minutes. Remember your training, stay calm, follow the emergency procedures, protect your head and neck, move away from windows and tall objects. If you begin to experience a panic response, focus on your breathing." She continued with more instructions, but Daiho's exhaustion was catching up to him. The classroom was warm. His seat was relatively comfortable. The gentle hum of the building's life support systems was almost soothing. His eyes started to drift closed. "Daiho?" Hyun whispered urgently. "Are you falling asleep?" "No, just resting my eyes," Daiho mumbled. "The drill is about to start. You need to be alert." "I am alert. Super alert." Daiho's head drooped forward slightly. Velmara finished her instructions and moved to her own protected position. "The simulation will begin in 3 minutes. Prepare yourselves." The classroom fell silent except for nervous breathing and the clicking of Hyun's anxiety-induced exoskeleton adjustments. Some students held hands. Others closed their eyes and whispered what Daiho assumed were prayers. He really should not sleep during class. It was rude, but he was so tired, and nothing was happening yet. Maybe he could just close his eyes for a minute. Just a quick rest before the drill started. Daiho's head settled onto his folded arms on the desk. The position was comfortable, familiar. He had slept through countless boring classes back on Earth this way. His breathing deepened. 2 minutes, Velmara announced. Hyun was practically vibrating with fear. Bora's tank had started bubbling from her rapid breathing. Minho gripped the edges of his desk so hard his scales were turning white. 1 minute. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Someone started crying quietly. Another student activated their personal shield, filling the air with a faint electric buzz. 30 seconds. Daiho was fast asleep, drool beginning to pool on his arm. 10 seconds. Remember your training. Stay calm. The countdown continued. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The drill began. A low rumble echoed through the building's structure. The floor started to vibrate. A gentle rolling motion that slowly increased in intensity. It was carefully calibrated to simulate a magnitude 3.5 earthquake, noticeable but not dangerous by any scientific measure. For the alien students, it was catastrophic. Hyun's legs locked up immediately, his species' evolutionary fear response taking over. He stood frozen in place, his antennae flat against his head, his breathing shallow and rapid. Bora's water tank sloshed violently as she panicked. She tried to swim to the bottom for safety, but kept getting tossed around by her own thrashing. Her breathing apparatus malfunctioned, causing her to gulp water incorrectly. Minho tried to follow the safety procedures and dove under his desk, but in his panic he misjudged the distance and crashed into the furniture instead. His harness got tangled in the desk's legs, trapping him. The gaseous student's containment suit started leaking from stress-induced pressure fluctuations. They began drifting toward the ceiling, unable to control their buoyancy. Several students screamed. Others remained frozen in terror. One managed to activate the emergency beacon by mistake, flooding the room with a loud alarm that only added to the chaos. Instructor Velmara tried to maintain order. "Remain calm. Follow the procedures. This is only a simulation." But her voice was drowned out by the alarm and the panicked sounds of her students. The building continued its gentle shaking. By Earth standards, it was barely noticeable, the kind of tremor that might make a picture frame swing slightly or cause water in a glass to ripple. The academy's structure was solid. Nothing was falling. No real danger existed. But for students who had never experienced ground movement before, it was pure terror. In the middle of this chaos, in the eye of this storm of panic and fear, Daiho remained perfectly still at his desk. His head rested on his arms. His breathing was slow and steady. His body was completely relaxed. The gentle vibrations of the drill, so terrifying to everyone else, felt almost pleasant to him. It reminded him of home, of falling asleep during summer afternoons while feeling the distant rumble of subway trains beneath his apartment, of the subtle movements that were part of daily life on a living, breathing planet. The shaking actually helped him sleep better. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Daeho experienced the kind of environmental background motion that his body expected. The simulation had inadvertently created the one thing missing from Vextar, the feeling of being on a real world. A small line of drool escaped from the corner of his mouth. The drill continued for 2 full minutes as planned. To the panicking students, it felt like hours. The shaking remained consistent, not getting stronger, not getting weaker, just a steady vibration that maintained its intensity. Hyun still had not moved. His mind had essentially shut down from fear. Bora had managed to stabilize herself in her tank, but was making a keening sound of distress. Minho was still tangled under his desk, cursing in his native language. About half the students were crying. The other half were either frozen or curled up in tight balls of terror. Instructor Velamara had given up trying to maintain instructional control and was simply monitoring to make sure no one got seriously hurt. And through it all, Daeho slept peacefully. The drill ended as smoothly as it began. The rumbling faded away. The floor became still. The alarm shut off automatically. Silence returned to the classroom, broken only by sobbing and heavy breathing. For a long moment, no one moved. Students remained in their protective positions, waiting to be sure it was really over. Some were shaking harder than the building had been. Velmara's crystalline body brightened slightly. The drill is complete. You have all survived. Well done. Please remain seated while I check for injuries. She began moving through the room, offering comfort and checking on the most distressed students. She helped Minho untangle himself from his desk. She adjusted Bora's tank filters. She administered a mild sedative to Hyun, whose system was still locked in fear mode. A small furry student raised a trembling paw and pointed. Instructor? What about the human? Velamara turned to look at Daeho's desk. The human had not moved since the drill began. He remained slumped forward, motionless. Fear gripped the instructor. Had something gone wrong? Was he injured? She quickly moved to his side. Daeho, can you hear me? Are you injured? No response. Bora's tank rolled closer, her distress temporarily forgotten in favor of concern for her friend. Is he alive? Velamara reached out with one crystalline appendage and gently touched Daeho's shoulder. Daeho, please respond if you can hear me. Daeho stirred slightly, made a small sound, shifted his head, and yawned. His eyes opened slowly, heavy with sleep. He blinked a few times, looking confused about where he was. Class over already? The entire room stared at him in absolute silence. Daeho wiped the drool from his chin and sat up, stretching. Man, I needed that nap. Sorry, Instructor Velmara. I know sleeping in class is disrespectful. The drill hasn't started yet, has it? More silence. The drill is complete, Velmara said slowly, her voice strange and hollow. It ended 30 seconds ago. Daeho's fuzzy brain processed this information. Oh, wait, really? It already happened? Yes. Huh, I guess I missed it. He looked around at his classmates, noticing for the first time their protective gear, their tears, their expressions of shock and horror. Are you guys okay? You all look really upset. Hyun's antennae rose slowly. His mandibles worked, but no sound came out. Bora pressed her face against her tank. You slept through it. Slept through what? The earthquake! Several students shouted at once. Daeho rubbed his eyes. Oh yeah, I guess I did. The shaking was actually kinda nice. Reminded me of home. First decent sleep I've had since I got here. No one moved. No one spoke. They simply stared at the human who had just described a simulated earthquake as nice and had used it as an opportunity for a nap. The silence stretched on. Daeho looked around at the shocked faces of his classmates, his sleep-fogged brain slowly catching up to the situation. Everyone was staring at him like he had grown a second head. What? He asked, genuinely confused. Bora was the first to move. She pressed against the front of her tank, her large eyes even wider than usual. Daeho, you slept. During an earthquake. You slept. It was just a little one, though, right? Daeho yawned again, still waking up. I mean, I checked the materials last night. Magnitude 3.5, that's basically nothing. I've slept through way bigger ones. A strangled sound came from somewhere in the back of the classroom. Minho, still partially tangled in his safety harness, spoke up. His voice was higher than normal. Nothing? Nothing. The ground was moving. Reality itself became unstable. The fundamental concept of solid ground was violated. How is that nothing? Deho scratched his head. I mean, the ground moves all the time. Tectonic plates are constantly shifting. You just don't usually feel it. This was just a little more noticeable than usual. Constantly shifting, Hyun repeated weakly. His antennae were drooping. The ground is constantly shifting. Yeah, like a few centimeters a year, sometimes more during active seismic events. Earth's crust is pretty dynamic. Instructor Velmara's crystalline structure had dimmed to an almost gray color. She floated closer to Deho, her movements slow and deliberate. Deho, I need you to explain something to me. You said you have slept through bigger earthquakes than this simulation. How much bigger? Well, the biggest one I remember was around 6.2 on the Richter scale. I was maybe 12. Woke up because my bookshelf fell over, but I went back to sleep after checking that everything was okay. Several students made sounds of distress. And this happens frequently on Earth? Velmara asked. Depends on where you live. I grew up near a fault line, so yeah, pretty frequently. Maybe once or twice a month we'd get something noticeable. Small ones almost weekly. Once or twice a month? Bora's voice cracked. How is anyone alive on your planet? Because we build our buildings to handle it, Deho explained patiently. He was starting to understand their perspective now, though it still seemed like an overreaction. We have building codes, earthquake-resistant structures, early warning systems. It's just part of life. Minho had managed to free himself from his harness. He stood up, his scales rippling with agitation. You are telling me that Earth experiences violent ground movements multiple times per month, and your species just continues living? You do not evacuate? You do not abandon seismically active regions? Evacuate to where? Most of the planet is on top of tectonic plates. The whole world is basically a seismic zone to some degree. Some areas are worse than others, but nowhere is completely safe. Nowhere is safe, Hyun whispered. Your entire planet. Nowhere is safe. Deho was starting to feel uncomfortable with all the attention. Look, I know it sounds scary if you're not used to it, but honestly, earthquakes are pretty low on the list of things that kill people on Earth. You're way more likely to die from disease, accidents, or old age. Most people live their whole lives without being seriously hurt by an earthquake. What else kills people on Earth? A small, crystalline student asked from the back. Lots of things? I mean, there's disease, obviously. Car accidents. Sometimes extreme weather like hurricanes, tornadoes, floods. Wild animals if you're really unlucky. Heat waves, cold snaps, lightning strikes, drowning, falling from heights. Stop, Velmara said, her voice chiming loudly. Please stop listing causes of death. But the damage was expanding. Students were looking at Deho with a mixture of horror, awe, and confusion. A avian-looking student with feathered crests spoke up. I have a question. If Earth is so dangerous, why do humans not simply leave? Your species has space travel capability. You could colonize safer worlds. Deho thought about this. I guess because it's home? I mean, yeah, Earth is dangerous compared to here, but it's also beautiful. We have incredible biodiversity, amazing landscapes, complex weather systems. All that danger is part of what makes Earth, well, Earth. It shaped us as a species. It shaped you into lunatics, Minho muttered. Or survivors, Bora said softly. She was looking at Deho with new understanding. You are not afraid because you have been trained since birth to handle threats that would destroy most species. Your entire childhood was survival training. I wouldn't call it survival training, Deho protested. It was just normal life. Normal, Hyun said. He laughed, a chittering sound that was slightly unhinged. Normal. He calls it normal. Then, his legs gave out again and he sat down hard on the floor. Instructor Velmara made a decision. Class is dismissed for the remainder of the day. All students who experience trauma during the drill may report to the medical center for psychological support. That includes everyone. She looked specifically at Hyun when she said this. What about me? Daeho asked. Velmara's facets flickered. You should perhaps come with me to my office. We need to discuss your response to the drill, or lack thereof. As students filed out of the classroom, many of them cast glances back at Daeho. Some looked scared, others looked curious. A few looked like they were seeing him for the first time, really seeing what it meant to be from a death world. Bora rolled her tank over to him before leaving. Daeho, may I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever feel afraid? The question surprised him. Of course I do, I'm not fearless or anything. What scares you? Daeho thought about it. I don't know. Losing people I care about? Failing at something important? The ocean is kind of spooky. It's so big and deep and full of things that can hurt you. But that's different from being scared of natural disasters. Those are just things that happen. The ocean is full of things that can hurt you, Bora repeated slowly. And you live on a planet that is 70% ocean. Yeah? And you still go into the ocean. For fun. I have seen videos of humans surfing and swimming with predators. Well, yeah. The ocean is also beautiful and fun. Bora made a sound that might have been laughter or crying. You are the strangest being I have ever met. I will see you tomorrow, Daeho from Earth. If I have recovered from the trauma by then. She floated away, leaving Daeho alone with Instructor Velmara. The walk to Velmara's office was quiet. When they arrived, she gestured for him to sit. Her office was simple and elegant, with crystal formations growing from the walls that refracted light into soft patterns. Daeho, she began, I have been teaching at this academy for 73 years. I have worked with hundreds of species from across the galaxy. I have taught students who breathe methane, who exist in 4 dimensions, who communicate through chemical signals. But I have never encountered anything quite like a human. Is that bad? No, she said carefully. Just concerning. When the Galactic Council approved Earth's application to join the interstellar community, there was significant debate. Many species argued that humans were too primitive, too violent, too unpredictable. Earth was classified as a Class 9 death world, among the most hostile inhabited planets known to us. I didn't know that. Most humans do not. Your species is kept somewhat isolated until we can better understand you. You are the first human student to attend this academy. An experiment, if you will. Daeho shifted uncomfortably. Am I failing the experiment? Velmara's structure brightened slightly. On the contrary. You are teaching us far more than we expected. Today, for instance, you demonstrated something remarkable. You experienced a simulated natural disaster, one that reduced my other students to tears, and you found it relaxing. The shaking was nice, Daeho admitted. Everything here is so still all the time. It feels wrong, like the planet is dead. From a human perspective, Vextar is dead. It is stable, predictable, safe. These are qualities most species value highly. It's too safe, Daeho said. How do you grow as a person if nothing ever challenges you? Velmara was quiet for a long moment. That, she said finally, is a very human question. Most species seek to minimize challenge and risk. Humans seem to actively pursue it, not on purpose. It's just part of our environment. You adapt or you die. And that adaptation has made you into something unique, something that can sleep through earthquakes, thrive in danger, and remain calm when others panic. She paused. It also makes you somewhat terrifying to other species. Daeho slumped in his chair. Great, so everyone's going to be scared of me now. Some will be, but others will be fascinated. You have shown them what is possible when a species evolves under extreme pressure. You are living proof that adversity creates strength. I'm just a college student who was tired. Velmara made a sound like wind chimes, laughing. Yes, that is precisely what makes you remarkable. To you, surviving an earthquake is so mundane that you can sleep through it. To the rest of us, that is extraordinary. She stood and moved to the window, looking out over the academy grounds. I suspect your presence here will change many perspectives. Already I have received 3 messages from students requesting to learn more about Earth. One wants to study Death World biology. Another is interested in human psychology. You are opening minds, Deho, even if it is somewhat traumatic for those minds. Deho managed a small smile. So I'm not getting expelled for sleeping in class? Absolutely not. Though perhaps in the future try to stay awake during drills, for the psychological well-being of your classmates if nothing else. The week following the earthquake drill changed everything. Deho had gone from being the strange exchange student to being a minor celebrity on campus. Everywhere he walked, students stared. Some whispered. A few approached him with nervous questions. Others kept a respectful distance as if he might suddenly explode. Hyun had spent 2 days in the medical center recovering from the drill. When he finally returned to classes, he sought out Daeho immediately. I owe you an apology, Hyun said. His antennae lowered, and what Daeho had learned was a gesture of humility. Before the drill, I thought your planet's dangers were exaggerated stories, primitive world propaganda. But after seeing your reaction, or lack of reaction, I understand now. Earth truly is a death world, and you truly have adapted to survive it. I don't think of it as adapting, Daeho said. It's just normal life. That is what makes it so remarkable. Your normal would kill most of us. They were sitting in the cafeteria, which had become less quiet around Daeho. Students no longer fled when he entered. Instead, they watched him eat with fascination, as if expecting him to do something incredible. He disappointed them by just eating his bland nutrition paste normally. Bora joined them, her tank water clear again. Daeho, I have a request. Several of us have been talking, and we would like you to give a presentation about Earth. A real one, with details about the dangers and how humans survive them. Would you be willing? I guess. I'm not really an expert on anything, though. You are an expert on living, Hyun said. That is more than most of us can claim. Word spread quickly. What started as a small presentation for interested classmates grew into a full academy event. Instructor Velmara helped organize it, booking the main amphitheater. The presentation was scheduled for the following week, giving Daeho time to prepare. He spent hours compiling videos and information about Earth, watching the footage with new eyes, trying to see it as his alien classmates would, was unsettling. Things he considered normal looked absolutely terrifying when you really thought about them. A video of a hurricane battering a coastal city, waves 3 stories tall, winds strong enough to tear roofs off buildings, and yet people stayed, riding out the storm in shelters, then emerging to rebuild. Footage of a volcanic eruption, lava flowing down mountainsides, towns at the base of these mountains, people living their entire lives in the shadow of potential destruction. Time-lapse videos of tornado formation, massive rotating columns of air that could level entire neighborhoods. Storm chasers who pursued these disasters for research and recreation. Underwater footage of the ocean. Great white sharks, giant squids, schools of jellyfish trailing poisonous tentacles. Humans swimming, diving, and exploring these waters anyway. The night before his presentation, Daeho could not sleep again. Not from nerves, but from the too quiet environment. He laid in bed thinking about home, about the sound of rain on windows, the rumble of distant thunder, the way the whole apartment building would sway slightly during storms, alive and flexing. He missed the danger. He missed the feeling of being on a real, dynamic planet instead of the sanitized, controlled environment. The amphitheater was packed when Daeho arrived. Hundreds of students from dozens of species filled the seats. Some he recognized from classes, many he had never seen before. Even some faculty members were present, including Instructor Velmara, who gave him an encouraging nod. Minho sat in the front row, his posture attentive rather than skeptical. Hyun and Bora had saved seats nearby, both of them emanating supportive energy. Daeho stepped up to the presentation platform. His hands were slightly sweaty. Public speaking had never been his favorite activity, even back on Earth. Hi everyone, I'm Daeho from Earth. I'm told you want to know more about my planet and how humans survive there. I'm going to show you some videos and explain some things, but I want to say up front, to me all of this is just normal life. If it seems scary or extreme, that's because your normal is different from mine. Neither is better or worse, just different. He started with the basics. A rotating model of Earth showing the tectonic plates. This is Earth. It's a geologically active planet, which means the crust is broken into these large plates that move around. Where they meet, you get earthquakes, volcanoes, and mountain formation. Most major cities are built near these plate boundaries because they're also near coastlines and resources. A murmur ran through the audience. Someone asked, "You build cities in the most dangerous locations?" "The dangerous locations are also the most useful locations," Deho explained. Volcanic soil is incredibly fertile for farming. Coastal areas provide access to ocean resources and trade. You work with the danger, not against it. He showed a video of a moderate earthquake, dishes rattling, people ducking under desks, buildings swaying but not falling. This is a magnitude 5.5 earthquake. Noticeable but not catastrophic in areas with good building codes. Most people would just wait for it to stop, then continue their day. The audience watched in silent horror. Next came weather. Daiho showed a hurricane from space, a massive spiral of clouds covering an area larger than some countries. Then footage from inside the storm. Streets flooded, wind howling, trees bending horizontal. This is a Category 3 hurricane. Earth gets several of these every year. People who live in hurricane zones prepare by having emergency supplies and evacuation plans. Many ride out the storms in their homes. Afterward, communities come together to repair damage. Why not abandon these regions? Someone called out. Because these regions are also beautiful and productive. The coast, the islands, the areas that get the worst storms, they're also where many people want to live. The danger is worth it for the lifestyle. He showed them tornadoes next. Massive funnels of wind tearing across flat plains. He showed storm chasers, humans who deliberately drove toward these catastrophes to study them. Wait, Bora called out. Those humans are pursuing the disaster. For science, Deho said. And some people just find it exciting. Humans have this weird relationship with danger. We're scared of it, but we're also drawn to it. We want to understand it, experience it, sometimes even master it. The ocean footage might have been the worst. He showed deep-sea creatures, massive predators, vast emptiness. Then he showed humans swimming, surfing, diving, playing in the same waters that house things that could kill them. The ocean is one of Earth's most dangerous features, Deho said. It's unpredictable, full of predators, and humans can't even breathe in it. But we're fascinated by it. We explore it, harvest food from it, build cities right next to it. We have entire recreational activities based on riding ocean waves while they crash toward shore. This is insanity, someone muttered loudly. Maybe, Deho agreed, but it's our insanity. He showed them more. Blizzards and heat waves, deserts and jungles, mountain climbing and cave diving. Each example of humans not just surviving Earth's dangers but actively engaging with them. Finally, he showed images of Earth from space. The blue marble swirled with white clouds patched with green and brown continents. This is home, Deho said quietly. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, natural disasters kill people every year. Yes, the environment is harsh compared to most civilized worlds. But it's also the most beautiful planet I've ever seen. The danger is part of what makes it beautiful. The constant change, the power of nature, the way life adapts and thrives despite everything. That's Earth. He paused, looking out at the audience. I didn't really understand how extreme my planet was until I came here. Vextar is safe and stable and perfectly controlled. And it's nice, but it also feels dead to me. Nothing moves unless it's supposed to. Nothing changes. There's no chaos, no unpredictability. For someone from Earth, that's unsettling. The amphitheater was silent. Students processed what they had seen and heard. Then Hyun stood up. I have a question. Do you feel fear, Deho? When you experience these disasters, are you afraid? It was the same question Bora had asked days ago, but this time Deho had a better answer. Yes, I feel fear. Every human does. When the ground starts shaking, there's a moment of adrenaline, of alert. Your body prepares to react, but fear and panic are different things. Humans have learned to feel fear while still functioning. We acknowledge the danger, take appropriate precautions, and then continue living. He thought about how to explain it better. Fear is information. It tells you something is wrong, that you need to pay attention. But it's not a stop signal. It's a warning signal. You feel it, you process it, you act on it if necessary, and then you move on. You don't let it paralyze you. Because if you let it paralyze you, you would never be able to function on Earth, Velmara said from her seat. It was not a question. Exactly. Earth requires constant low-level risk assessment. Is this safe? What are the escape routes? What's the weather doing? Is that animal dangerous? It's exhausting when you think about it, but humans do it automatically. We're always running background processes to evaluate and respond to potential threats. Minho stood next. I judged you harshly when you first arrived. I thought humans were primitive, overly aggressive, ruled by instinct rather than reason. I was wrong. You are not primitive. You are highly adapted. Your species has taken one of the galaxy's most hostile planets and not just survived but thrived. That requires intelligence, cooperation, and incredible resilience. I apologize for my previous prejudice. Deho felt his face heat up. Thanks, Minho, that means a lot. More questions came. How did humans sleep knowing disasters could strike at any time? How did they raise children in such dangerous environments? What psychological training did they receive to handle constant threat? To each question, Deho gave the same basic answer. You just live. You don't think about it constantly. You take reasonable precautions and then go about your life. The human brain is remarkably good at normalizing danger. The presentation lasted 3 hours. When it finally ended, students didn't immediately leave. They gathered in groups, discussing what they had learned. Some approached Deho with more questions. Others just wanted to express their amazement or respect. A small elderly being from a species Deho didn't recognize approached him. I am Instructor Kent from the Xenobiology Department. I would very much like to study human adaptation to death world conditions. Would you be willing to participate in some non-invasive research? Sure. What kind of research? Stress response analysis, threat assessment calibration, sleep pattern studies in varying environmental conditions. I promise nothing dangerous or uncomfortable. Can you make my room shake a little at night? I sleep better with some vibration. Instructor Kent's eyes widened. You want simulated seismic activity? To help you sleep? If it's not too much trouble. This is exactly the kind of adaptation I want to study. Over the following weeks, life at the academy settled into a new normal. Deho's presence had opened a dialogue about death worlds, survival adaptation, and the incredible diversity of life in the galaxy. Bora started a xenobiology club specifically focused on studying extreme environments. She recruited a dozen students who were fascinated by the concept that intelligence could emerge from chaos rather than stability. Hyun asked Deho to teach him about managing fear responses. They started with simple exercises, experiencing mild discomfort, practicing remaining calm during simulated stress. Hyun would probably never be comfortable with chaos, but he was learning that fear did not have to equal paralysis. Even Minho had changed. He began researching Earth's history, fascinated by how human civilization had developed under such harsh conditions. He admitted to Deho one day that he was considering visiting Earth, though he would require extensive preparation first. The Academy had also made some changes. They installed adjustable environmental controls in Deho's room, allowing him to simulate weather conditions. He could make it rain, add wind sounds, even generate mild vibrations. For the first time since arriving, Deho could actually sleep properly. One evening, about a month after his presentation, Deho sat in the dormitory common room with his friends. Hyun was working on homework, no longer flinching every time Deho moved. Bora was researching oceanography, planning a future visit to Earth's seas despite her terror of them. Minho was reading human literature, trying to understand the culture behind the survival instincts. Deho, Bora said suddenly, thank you. For what? For being patient with us. For helping us understand. When you first arrived, we saw you as dangerous, strange, almost alien. But now we see you as just Deho, our friend who happens to be from a death world. You are still strange, Hyun added. And your planet still horrifies me. But I'm grateful to know you. You have expanded my understanding of what is possible. Minho nodded. You have taught us that strength comes in many forms. Physical resilience, yes, but also mental adaptability, emotional stability under pressure, and the courage to continue despite constant threats. These are lessons my species needs to learn. Deho smiled. You guys are making me emotional. Stop it. Never, Bora said. We are your friends now. You are stuck with us and our feelings. Later that night, as Deho lay in his bed with simulated rain pattering against the window and gentle vibrations running through the floor, he thought about home. He missed Earth terribly. Missed real weather, real danger, real life. But he was grateful for this experience too. His alien friends had taught him something important. Earth's dangers were not normal. His resilience was not universal. Humans were remarkable in their ability to adapt, survive, and even thrive in conditions that would break most other species. He felt proud of that, proud of humanity, of Earth, of the strength forged through generations of surviving and adapting to a planet that constantly tested them. The room rumbled gently, a soft vibration that mimicked distant seismic activity. Deho closed his eyes and smiled. He was learning to appreciate both worlds now, the challenge of Earth and the safety of Vextar, the chaos and the calm, the danger and the peace, but he still could not wait to go home.